Again, I'm Margaret Martin. I am your platform assistant today, and you have zoomed into Unity DC's Sunday service. Our speaker today is Reverend Carole Frampton, and her message is choosing pain over suffering. And now I have a centering prayer, and it is taken from John Randolph Price's book, Nothing is Too Good to Be True. And if we'll just take a little breath. The one presence and power of the universe is individualized as me now. There is no separation between me and God, for I am God in full, glorious expression. And so it is.
I love you, I see you, I trust you to go within to discover you already know how it feels to be whole, how to heal. Starting now, you can be safe and warm, whole and free, on your way to the source. Chart your course, you will see. I love you, I see you, I trust you to go within to discover that you already know how it feels to be whole, how to heal, how it feels to be whole, how to heal.
As Margaret teased me a bit before service, the title of my talk, Choosing Pain Over Suffering, isn't very enticing. I'm very grateful you've shown up on a Sunday morning to listen to it. Given that choice, most people would probably say, neither, thank you very much. And yet, what I want to explore this morning with you isn't a life of more pain, but a life of more aliveness and freedom. I don't know how many of you have been on an African safari, but you've probably seen those scenes on television, a gazelle chased by a lion. We watch the chase, but rarely what happens afterwards. The gazelle that escapes doesn't run on in silence. It shakes. Its whole body trembles for a few minutes as it releases the flood of adrenaline that just saved its life. And then it stops, lifts its head, and goes back to grazing. That trembling is how it returns to balance. It's how it prevents trauma from setting in. Humans don't shake things off that easily. I wish we would. We tend to hold our experiences inside. We keep reliving the chase. We bury the fear, the grief, the shame, sometimes so deeply we forget the original event. But the body doesn't forget. It reshapes itself around what we can't bear to feel. The shoulders hunch, the breath shortens, the back stiffens. The energy of those unprocessed shocks shape not only how we stand, how we breathe, but also how we see the world, who we trust, how we love, and the risks we are or are no longer willing to take. Older, wiser cultures know this. They encourage us to wail at funerals, to twirl till we are dizzy, to express our pent-up emotions in recklessly wild dancing, to embrace our darker side in carnivals, or to purge our trauma with medicinal plants. Our bodies know how to process emotions, how to self-regulate and self-heal when given the space to do so. We need to relearn how to include and trust them. I recently completed a certification training in a healing practice called spinal flow. You know me, I like exploring new territory. I have gone from interfaith minister to sound therapist, now adding working on people's spines. And the most exciting part of this journey is to learn how to read bodies. It's like learning a whole new language. The spine connects the brain to every organ, carrying information throughout the body. When trauma, physical, emotional, chemical, isn't expressed, it often shows up first along that central line. Blockages along the spine slow down the flow of energy until that reduced flow creates dis-ease. You can actually see it. When we meet another person, not as faces in little squares, our bodies speak volumes. A hunched back, a head ahead of its body, a rigid neck. They aren't just the result of bad habits. They're stories made visible. As author Caroline Myss says, our biography becomes our biology. The way we live and the way we respond to what life hands us eventually writes itself physically into our bodies. In Anatomy of the Spirit, she also reminds us that the body holds not only our own personal stories, but the stories of those who came before us. the unhealed pain of our ancestors, our families, our cultures, as an invisible inheritance. A country marked by war or oppression may carry a shared trauma that echoes through its people. A culture that prizes self-reliance and hides pain may have more silent chronic conditions, autoimmune diseases, stress-related illnesses. A culture with a narrative of victimhood may have different patterns of illness than others. In this way, social health phenomena like rising obesity, diabetes, addiction could be seen as collective expression of emotional or psychic wounds. When COVID arrived, attacking the lungs, May saw in it a reflection of global grief, of our separation from one another and from truth. She wrote, "We are suffocating under the weight of lies, fear, and separation. This virus literally takes the breath away. Perhaps so we will learn again to breathe together." The pandemic was a reminder that we share one world, one body. What affects one of us ripples through all of us. And yet, much of our response has been to turn further away, to reject solidarity, deny connection, disconnect further from our bodies and from the earth. As we stand today in a world more divided than ever, what if the most radical act of service we can offer is to heal the wounds within our own bodies? Not as an isolated project of self-improvement, but as a reclaiming of our shared humanity. Not as a prerequisite before political action, but as an integral part of it, as a contribution to and leadership towards collective healing. Because healing ourselves does more than relieve pain. It restores sovereignty. When we clear what has been inherited or imposed, we stop living as echoes of someone else's story. We step into the truth of who we are, the freedom to choose our own path. So how do we heal? We start by trusting our body again. We've handed authority to the mind for too long, including in therapy. We've been taught to treat pain as a problem to fix, not a message to listen to. We reach for pills when we ache, distractions when we grieve, noise when silence threatens to speak. We rarely ask why the pain is there or what it's asking of us. What my spinal flow training taught me is to listen and trust our body's wisdom. With patients lying on their back, we use gentle contact points to encourage the body's natural intelligence, to help it remember how to release what it's been holding. After a few sessions, or sometimes just one, the body begins to realign, to shake, to breathe again. It's not about fixing. It's about letting life flow where it was once blocked. When that happens, the body begins to move in new ways. It releases the old stories it has carried for years. I've seen tears flow from nowhere, laughter erupt, breath return. It's simple, and it is holy. One woman I worked with wept deeply, releasing a guilt she had carried since birth for surviving and leaving behind her twin who did not. There's no scientific proof that her body will, as a result, not fall ill from that old grief. But there's a knowing in me and in her that something real happened on that massage table, that she went home with a new sense of peace. When we release what's inherited or imposed, we become more sovereign, able to meet life as it is and respond from our own free choice rather than from old scripts. So why do I invite you in my title to choose pain when I have only talked about healing so far? Buddhists say pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. They tell the tale of a man struck by an arrow who then torments himself, imagining infection, blood loss, and ruin, suffering more from his thoughts than from the wound itself. The first arrow is what happens to us. The second, invisible arrow, is the story we tell ourselves about it. Our greatest suffering doesn't come from pain itself, but from our fear of it and from the ways we try to avoid it. We close off, we numb, we control, and in doing so, we give up sovereignty. We let fear decide how we live, who we can trust. When we choose to face pain directly, we take that power back. When pain, felt fully and released, leaves behind not weakness, but strength, a kind of quiet authority that comes from self-trust. I have spoken to you before about my mother. She passed away earlier this year. She spent much of her life seeking safety. Her choices were careful and reasonable. She avoided conflict, avoided risk, avoided loss, and sadly, avoided joy. She ended up with a life so tightly managed that there was no space for spontaneity nor intimacy. Watching her taught me that the price to pay for safety is too high. And today I honor her by choosing a freedom she thought she didn't have permission for. Our religion have played a role using scripture to reassure rather than empower, and to glorify suffering instead of guiding us through it. Psalm 34 says that God is close to the brokenhearted, and many hear it as if God requires the suffering, or that my payoff for pain is closeness to God, or worse, I need to experience pain to be close to God. What if pain isn't punishment or proof of holiness, but simply a doorway, a passageway into greater compassion and freedom? Pain isn't punishment. It's part of being alive. It's information. It shows us where we've been holding on too tightly, where something in us wants to grow. When we meet it with awareness instead of resistance, it transforms. The story that inspires me the most in that regard is the ancient Sumerian one of Inanna, goddess of love. Inanna chooses to descend into the underworld, ruled by her shadow sister, Ereshkigal. At each of the 7 gates, she removes one symbol of her power: her crown, her jewelry, her robes, until she stands naked before her own shadow. She accepts to die to who she was, and after 3 days, she rises renewed. Her descent is not defeat, it's initiation. And of course, she's the precursor of Jesus, who followed the same path until his story was reinterpreted by others. Pain is the underworld calling us. We can choose to resist and harden, or descend. Allow pain to strip us of what is false, to stand bare and embrace our shadow, and to emerge wiser, freer, more alive. We give up control, and as a result, take back our own power. Inanna's full title is Goddess of Love, Sex, War, and Spiritual Transformation. She's both light and darkness, joy and pain. Nothing is excluded. All is welcome. She pulls us into the underworld when we need shedding. She supports us from below rather than rule or judge us from above. She does not punish, nor asks us to suffer. She asks us to be courageous. Pain helps us let go of what no longer fits, what's out of alignment. It calls us to live more truthfully, to take responsibility for our own growth. That's the heart of sovereignty, the courage to meet life on its own terms and to keep saying yes to it. So at night, when you feel the weight of the day settle in your shoulders, notice it. Notice where your body holds what your heart hasn't released. And maybe, just for a few minutes, let yourself shake, like the gazelle who knows how to survive. Let the old energy move through you and out of you. Let yourself breathe. Because pain itself isn't the enemy. Avoidance is. When we dare to feel what we feel, we stop suffering. We become more whole, more awake, more ourselves. And in that wholeness, we rediscover our freedom, the freedom of presence, the freedom to choose, to love, to create, to act. The freedom to live this one life fully, not from fear of suffering, not from inherited, unhealed pain, but from our very own truth. Thank you. Now, I'm going to ask you to sit up, feet on the ground, and not lying back against the chair. Upright if you can. And I invite you to put your two hands on your lower belly, if you'd like. Underneath the navel, the region called the hara. This is where our body intelligence resides. This is from where our body often whispers to us. Be aware of it. Breathe into it. Count of 4 breathing in. Count of 6 breathing out. Then staying grounded in that place, visualize energy going up your spine with each breath in and down with each breath out. You may give it some sparkle or color, or just simply accompany the breath up and down the spine, from the sacrum to the brain and back down. Go at your own pace. And if you feel like it, you can move a little bit with each breath. Tilt your pelvis. Have your spine accompany the breath. And have the head move as it receives it and sends it back down. We all have our eyes closed, no one can see you. So let your spine dance with the breath. Let it roll with the breath. And let each breath get deeper and more expansive. Have it include your heart. Let it open your heart through its waves of breath and energy. And now move your hands onto your sternum and keep breathing. Fill your body with that breath. Feel the energy go up and down your spine. Restoring life to its every part. And if you feel like it, you can add your voice when breathing out. A gentle humming or an or whatever sound comes out of you. Welcome the energy. Let it soothe you. Let it energize you. Let it awaken you. And if you can, stay in that rhythm as we listen to Glen.
Waiting in the silence, I am open to the flow. Gently slow my breathing, I surrender, I let go. Be still, be still, and know. Be still, be still, and in the silence, I am open to the flow. Gently slow my breathing, I surrender, I let go. Be
And now for our closing prayer. Again, it's adapted from Nothing is Too Good to Be True by John Randolph Price. I am the allness of God in unique expression. I am the allness of God in unique expression. I am the allness of God in unique expression. I go forward with the complete internal physical understanding of this truth, knowing that all of the information I need to get through my day is available to me through my connection to God, and I share this love with the world. And so it is.